Just a few days ago, someone hacked millions and millions of developers' computers in the middle of the night. It was live for 3 hours, just 3 hours, then poof, it vanished and it cleaned up. So even if you were hit, your computer, totally fine now. And I thought about you, Kate, because if you've been doing anything with AI coding tools like Claude, Cursor, Copilot, I think, this might have touched your machine. And you would have no way of knowing, no? And as I was like thinking about how I was going to tell that to you, I was like, oh, here comes the catch. And what I think everybody watching right now should pay attention to, which is even if you're not a coder, this could have still affected you, me. So make sure you keep watching to find out what's going on and how can you make sure you're not one of those that got impacted.
Okay, so, I mean, I hate a good hack, but I kind of love the forensics of a good hack. It gets really interesting. So this is called the Axios hack, and it's not the news organization Axios. It's basically something you've never heard of. It is the inside piece of code that handles sending and receiving data over the internet, which all apps do, and it's downloaded about 100 million times a week. This thing you never heard of, you've definitely touched it, you have definitely used it just without knowing.
It's like your best friend that you're like, they can have the case of the house, it's cool. So that's what makes it such a wild thing. It's like they just went to the root of the internet to break everything.
Even more, they caught the human being that pushes updates for Axios. One thing people don't know is that the internet is made out of a bunch of volunteers who sit there and keep it running with like scotch tape and like pipe cleaners. And there was one person who was responsible for pushing the updates to Axios. They got him with a phishing scam, installed a backdoor on his computer, and then ran the command, and then this particular virus was meant to erase itself in every trace, so nobody knew. And they did it all in the quiet of night when nobody's at their computers between midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, again, like you said, I'm not a coder. Like, why would this impact me? Well, I was vulnerable to this. And actually, there was a period of time yesterday where I kind of panicked because I knew that I had vibe coded 2 toys, one using Claude Code and one using Gemini. And I didn't know if I had this thing on my computer. So what this virus is, it's called a RAT, which is a apt name. It's a Remote Access Trojan, and it basically gets onto your computer and it can read all of your private information. Developers' computers, right? Not people like me, but I have valuable information on my computer too. But they are basically like these treasure troves of API keys and sensitive information and access to all sorts of different places that are not accessible to the average person, and cryptocurrency. So you really have, probably about 50,000 computers right now that have this rat living inside of them. And unless that person did a lot of work to comb through their code and find the 2 pieces of code that were infected, they really don't know. So actually a friend of mine said, you've been vibe coding things, right? I have to share this hack with you. Sent me a video, which we'll show here, which has a lot of very complicated information that freaked the heck out of me. And I had to go into my Google Cloud. I had to go to the places where my base code was living. Now, mind you, I did not code these apps. I used vibe coding to build them, and I copy and pasted what the AI gave me and published it to the internet. So I personally had no idea if any piece of Axios lived in it. I still really don't know. And the other thing is, I was like, okay, well, can I just delete them? Like, then the problem will go away, right? You take it down from the internet, the problem goes away. Oh no, my friend, because if I had those pieces of code on my computer, the rat would already be inside my computer. What would I need to do? Get a new computer, probably. And I don't even know. Good thing for me that it didn't actually happen, but there was a moment there where I was like, oh gosh, I've been compromised.
Yeah, and that's the part we've been bringing up, right, several times here in the Slop world, and maybe folks don't talk that much about, which is like, sure, vibe coding is awesome. It's great to be able to put your vision, just talk to an app and they build it for you. So incredibly easy to build, incredibly hard to defend as well, because while we can build and we don't know what's going on. I mean, the few times I vibe coded, I had no clue what was going on in the back end because I'm not a coder. So that's one of the things that whenever we hear all this hype about bytecoding changing everything, this changes too, right? And what was, we know that they went to the root of the internet. This could have infected so many computers. We will probably not even know ever. But what made this attack so dangerous? And the part where it's like, oh, this is where it gets scary.
So I think it's a couple of things. One was the timing, right? It was this period of time when no one's awake, where nobody's going to catch it. It was on a Sunday afternoon when people are checked out. There's the fact that it cleaned itself up afterward. And I think it's not the first attack that has that capability, but this one, like your standard security audit, is going to show nothing. So most of the tools that folks have that sweep their websites and look for vulnerabilities, by the time they woke up on that Monday morning, they weren't going to see it. And then, Axios is just everywhere. So it's sort of, impossible to avoid. And when I was checking my code base to see if I had it in there, you had to look for 2 specific bits of code with 2 specific versions. And that's a lot of code to go through, especially when you're worried that there is a dangerous rat on your computer and you're kind of rushing because you're worried that your data is going to be the next one to steal. So it's a nasty, nasty bug.
It's a nasty bug, right? And the dangerous thing, like you said, Axios is what controls what goes up, what goes down. It's part of basically the baseline of the internet, right? So many apps, byte-coded apps as well, they are just pulling these updates without really thinking about it, without asking, hey, do we have to have a manual approval? Because it's sort of part of the lifeblood of the internet, right? And this is a part that it changes everything moment. But here's where I want to tell everyone that it's watching this and going like, why WTF, I don't care. Because we said so much, this is foundational. So this is foundational for millions of apps, the websites you use every day. This could be your banking, shopping, social media app. Any of those developers pulled a malicious version, boom, your password, account credentials, whatever you had in there got exposed, right? There was actually one reported incident tied to this attack, right? Where the theft of a token connected to 2.4 million customer records. What are those records including? Who knows? But I would not want my customer records of anything to be out. Your home computer, right? You bytecode your home computer, Kate. Running this simple install command could have turned, or might have turned, your personal laptop into, like you said, a rat. And we're not talking about the 80s band, a remote access Trojan. So that means it accesses your files, your webcam, your microphone, and it doesn't even have a banger like Run and Round.
These are the types of things where it'll be a while until we understand the true impact of this, because people are still trying to figure out whether they got it or not. So it'll be a minute.
I have a question for everyone before we move on. I want to see it on the comments. Like, what's the last app you downloaded? And do you know who built it? This beautiful fancy app you got. Do you know who built it? Do you know what your app is doing right now? Let us know in the comments. Now, Kate, what were these hackers looking for? Just disrupting everything?
They finally figured out who they were. Would you like me to tell you?
Always.
It was not a group of hackers in the United States. It was a group of hackers in North Korea. And it potentially was the North Korean government.
And this was confirmed by Google's threat intelligence group, right? This is actually a hacker group that it's supposed to be financed by North Korea. But this is like the reality, right, of what our future looks like, because as we start implementing more AI, more automation, it's beginning to look like we're sitting ducks here just waiting for the next attack that it's going to get us. Today, it's a country where most citizens do not have internet access, and they pull this one off. But I feel this is going to be the new normal for us, right? Because what they're exploiting here, sure, it's a flaw in the software, but mostly it's a flaw in trust, because this was such a vital part of our DNA. The same way I use my password app, and I just trusted that it's saving my passwords, and many times I ask myself, what would happen if it got hacked? We trust a lot of things because they remove friction, right? And that's kind of like our downfall. But what's your take, Kate?
Yeah, I can't stop going back to the fact that this wasn't somebody breaching a firewall and getting access to a website's data or a company's data. This was a foundational attack on the plumbing of the entire internet. They were able to figure out this super sophisticated way to get to just about anyone and everyone, and also to do it completely undetected. What it brings up for me is the fact that, and if you've ever built a website or built software, worked in the internet, it is a tangled mess of things, like I said, being held together with Scotch tape, being updated by volunteers in the middle of the night, antiquated protocols that don't really make sense in today's day and age, and you have to like constantly work your way around them. Like, that's the internet that we have. And it is not in and of itself secure, let alone you and your company and your data being secure.
That's number one, right? That's how the internet runs. But, the tools keep getting easier. Everything keeps getting, just look at my screen and it logs me on everything. But we need to go back to being comfortable. And I say it also for myself, with friction in our systems, with having to do multiple checkups, because there's always going to be a trade-off, right? And that applies now, it applied 20 years ago, and probably will apply 20 years from now if there is still a planet, as I love to say. So for me, the takeaway, as someone that is obsessed, whenever I get the alert that an update is available, I go and update. I'm one of those. It's like, calm the F down, give it a couple of days, wait until something blows up or not, and then do the update. So for me, this is kind of like a wake-up call about my level of trust in software and the tools I use every day. And I'm thinking also of someone I was talking to the other day that was telling me, I never update. And I was like, what is wrong with you? That's a security concern.
They're a type B personality.
Joke's on me. And speaking, of all the security concerns and things blowing up, I have one recommendation for you, Kate, which is we got an episode on the story of how actually Sora, OpenAI's revolutionary tool that was going to change cinema, blew up, messed up a $1 billion, and made Mickey Mouse sad. So stay watching.